So, do y'all want to journey through the Bible with me? I'm reading Genesis with a group of wonderful ladies, and I mean, it's lit. We're on chapter 35, and so much has happened. Right now, we're on the story of Jacob. You know, he had to flee because he stole his brother's birthright and first blessing as a firstborn. He was in cahoots with his mother, and she helped him take the blessings that belonged to his brother, which was the firstborn, Esau. So Esau was like, I'm going to kill him. And they didn't want history to repeat itself like when Cain killed Abel. So Jacob fled. I think his dad, Isaac, told him to flee, right? So he goes and flees. But before that, his dad was like, I want you to marry within these certain people. Don't marry anybody from here, right? So he sees his dad's cousin, I think, daughter. And her name is Rachel. And he instantly loves Rachel. But Rachel's dad, Laban, is like, Rachel's the younger daughter. And he's like, I want to marry her, right? I'll work for you. I want to marry your daughter. And he's like, okay, work 7 years. But Laban, unbeknownst to Jacob, didn't tell him, we don't do that. You have to marry the firstborn. The firstborn daughter has to get married first. And her name was Leah. So Jacob works for 7 years, thinks he's working for Rachel. He doesn't get to be with her. He's just working. He gets his wife sent into the tent so they can become one on their wedding night. When he wakes up, he sees that he got Leah and not Rachel, even though he works for 7 years. Now that's messed up. So he says, Laban explains to him why the firstborn had to get married first. And he says, if you work for 7 more years, you can have Rachel too. And he's like, okay, so he instantly got Rachel. He did have to work this more 7 years, the 7 more years that he didn't have to wait for Rachel. So he loved Rachel. He loved Rachel above Leah. Rachel couldn't have children, but Leah could. So the wife he loved couldn't have kids, and the one he didn't care for was just popping them out. So Rachel is so sad. She comes to him. She's bitter. And he's like, hey, I love you. I don't care about that. That's between you and God. So she requisitions God, and God finally opens her womb. And she has a baby. Leah wants to one-up her, so she has... No. Rachel had her maidservant have babies. So Leah one-ups her and has her maidservant have babies. And then Rachel finally gets pregnant and has a baby. Leah has more. They end up having like 12 sons. So now it's time for them to like be on their own or whatever. And Jacob is fleeing because he doesn't feel like Laban will just let them leave. So he's like, nah, we gotta flee. And they try to go, but Rachel took the gods from her dad. She stole them because she felt like Laban was kind of a bad person, and he cheated them. And though Jacob made him wealthy, he amassed his own wealth working for Laban. Like, he took all the speckled, all the striped goats, and Laban had all the beautiful, pure-looking goats But because of how Jacob herded his, they grew, and he knew that they were his because they had the speckles and the spots and stuff. But and then he did some other stuff, like anytime there was like an accident where animals would come kill the goats, Jacob had to pay for it, even if it was Laban's goats and it wasn't his fault. So Laban was very shady. So he catches up to Jacob when Jacob has tried to escape, and he's like, y'all stole from me, y'all stole my God. So he's like going off. But God had told him, came to him in a vision and was like, don't you do too much. Don't you go over there messing with Jacob, like he's special to me. So Laban didn't act too much up. And they made like a covenant that they wouldn't bother one another and he could go on his way. And they never found the gods that they stole from what I read. So then they settle down. Rachel has one more child and dies while she's having that child. That's very sad. And something happens though. Dinah, Jacob's daughter, I think it was his only daughter, gets essayed or raped by one of Laban's sons. And Jacob's sons are away. He finds out, finally gets word to them. They come back. They are so mad because they kept her. She was going to visit family and they kept her. So not only did they assault her, but they had her. So then the one who did it is like begging his dad, like, I want to marry her. He fell in love with her. I want to marry her. I want to marry her. And his dad is like, okay, I'm going to try to make it happen. And even he like pleads with Jacob. Jacob's sons are not having it. They're like, you did that to our sister. We about to get you. They tell them, no, it's not proper for us to. Oh, and they want to one up them. They're like, we want to mate with you guys, and you're rich, so we'll get rich. Like, they're trying to use them. You don't get to assault my child and then use me to get rich. So the brothers are like, nah, we not doing that. They're like, the only way we'd ever even consider linking up with y'all is if y'all got circumcised like us. So all the men, anybody who was anybody in the town agreed. So all the men had to get circumcised. And they all got circumcised at the same time. So while they're recovering, which I can only imagine you're very weak after having gone through that, the sons come and massacre, and every male is unalived. Like, what? Every male. And they ransack it. Take all their stuff out of their houses. Take the women and the children. It is crazy. And Jacob is mad because he's like, we are in the middle of a nation that's not ours. Now we're going to have enemies all surrounding us. But the Lord put the fear of God around everybody around them. So they were protected. But the brothers was like, and we'll do it again. You're not about to take our sister. And they rescued her because they still had her. They rescued her and went about their day. That's where I'm at right now. I don't know what's about to happen next, but it was a lot. It was so many things. Like, it was generational choices you see, like, played out. Like, Jacob, once he fled from Esau, then it was like, that's something that he had to keep doing. Then he had to flee Laban. And there was some other things. Some things that Jacob did, you saw Abraham doing. Some things that Abraham did, you saw Isaac doing. So, For example, lying about his sister being his wife. Like, oh, no, that's my sister. It's not my wife. I think Abraham did that and Isaac did that when they were traveling, so that they would be protected amongst the kings, because they thought the kings would be like, oh, she's so beautiful, let me unalive him so I can have her. And it's just generational choices and patterns you see emerge so quickly. Like, Leah was taunting Rachel, just like Sarah felt taunted by, I forget her name, Hagar. It was like, oh my gosh, these patterns. It makes sense because we go through our own patterns in life. And if we are able to talk to our parents and other family members, we see those patterns in our lives and the things that we need to unalive, the patterns that we need to come out of agreement with to change the tide and the trajectory in our lives and enter ourselves and our families into generational choices that bring success and bring blessing and restoration and healing. Generational choices of um, of God's choice. We want to do so God don't have to do so much correcting. But all right, I hope this was informational and that you will read Genesis or any part of the Bible, like Acts. Acts is so dope, to get your own understanding and have some fun with it. All right.